Alrighty, hello, we are live. Just doing a couple different things right now to check out this new system. This is the very first time using it, so if there are any problems, I do apologize. We will make sure that we get a nice streamlined system as soon as possible, but we had to upgrade and update and make things new. So that's kind of what we did here. So let's see if we have anything going on here. Okay, so today, if things work, I'm hoping that we were able to get some footage from the from a rekey that we just did, and we can start off from the beginning. Okay, so I can see it there. I wonder if it'll let me. From today. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you to view the video that I just made. It's taken me just a second to come up with this. Come on now, stop. All right, so I'm going to share this. Chat, create link. So I'm going to create a link for this real quick, and then we should be able to share it. Again, totally new platform. First time I've been using this platform, and it's going to just take a minute to figure out how everything works, and we'll be able to go from there. But after this, every Monday, 4 p.m. Mountain Time in Colorado, you should be able to log in here, and we should be doing some cool stuff. I really thought, I just was looking through there's so many videos out there right now. There's just all of these different videos on how to rekey things and how to do locksmith work and how to do just so many aspects of our industry. And one of the problems is they're not all equal in quality and content and accuracy, and they're not all the best for people to be learning from. So I would rather have people learn from something that is accurate rather than something that is popular. And that is the whole focus of what I'm trying to do. And hopefully that comes through in the work that we do here. So again, we're just waiting for this link to build and send me so I can send the link to myself, and then we can broadcast it through here. But all the different systems working together is definitely taking its toll. All right, let's make sure that we're actually going live. Can anybody hear me or see me out there? Can you make a comment or leave a comment in wherever you're at? And that way you can let me know that the system is working. Updated, and there is a new. Hey, there we go. Let's see if we're even casting right now. 24 minutes ago. Hey guys, this is Wayne here, and we're going to be going over our professional. Okay, so it looks like we've got live cast going. Comments. Hello. Beautiful. All right. Our link is building as we speak. And I'm just going to float around in here and check and see if we have our chat or any other stuff going on in here. Where's my chat at? Sorry, guys, give me just a minute. Countdown video comment. Oh, there's a comment section. Yes. All right. Hello, everyone. I promise the next one will be a whole lot better because I will actually understand how this system works. I did run a trial run on here, but it's just taken a minute to get familiar with this system. It's a whole lot different than Zoom. So I was able to say hello to everybody. Looks like we got people from Facebook. Looks like we got people from YouTube. Looks like we got all kinds of stuff going on here. So this is great. And this is why we changed platforms, just so people understand. The Zoom platform forced us to only use one platform or the other. So it was either YouTube or Facebook that we could broadcast through. And that did not meet all of my needs as much as I wanted it to. So what we had to do is switch over to this other streaming service that allows us to do multicast that goes through YouTube, Facebook, and it has the capabilities of going to LinkedIn. It's just not, LinkedIn doesn't let you schedule things. Okay, so I've got a bar coming up right now that it says it's sending photos. It's kind of a long video. It's about 16 minutes, but just bear with me. Everything's coming together as we speak. Just waiting on technology and waiting on all the fun internet stuff. So what we basically did today is we started off with a lock cylinder, and I wanted to go, because we're starting on this new platform, I wanted to go all the way back to the very beginning. I wanted to understand, where do people start? What's home plate? What's the A point? What's the beginning point to becoming a locksmith and rekeying locks and playing with all these fun things that we play with? And what I came up with was, we need to start from the very, very beginning. And when I say the very, very beginning, I mean, we need to go back and we need to understand, who are we rekeying this lock for? Not so much the fundamentals of, can we rekey the lock? What are the tools used to rekey the lock? But should we be rekeying this lock? Can we rekey this lock? Is this lock something, should we be here for this person? Is basically what it boils down to. And that question never gets addressed or brought up. I've never heard or seen any video that actually addressed, who are you working for and why are you there? Did you get a phone call, and what did you do to actually verify and vet that person to make sure that they are the correct person that you should be rekeying their lock for, or that you should be opening their house or opening their car or doing whatever it is that you're doing for them? Because that is extremely important. It's more important to me that we're working for the correct person than the actual details of the job itself, in my personal opinion. So the very first thing that I'll do when I get a phone call is I will start asking questions. Hello, this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith Service. How can I help you? And they'll tell me what the problem is. And we'll say, yes, we can help you with that, or no, we can't help you with that, depending on what the actual problem is. Now, the next steps that follow up are for both the customer's protection and my protection as well. We will usually, after I say hello, they have a real live person on the phone, everything's good here, we'll then move to try and get that text message, or try and get that conversation over to text message. And by doing that, now we're going to have a paper trail. Now I have a phone number, a time and date stamp. I have all of the things that I need to make sure that we're actually doing this for the correct person. And then they're going to send me, hey, time, day, address, etc. So I'm going to go one step further, because people can they can lie to you, right? People can lie to you. They can tell you false truths. They can tell you, they can tell you whatever they want to tell you. They can tell you their name's Bob and he's lived there for 20 years, and you would have no clue as to whether or not Bob is telling you the truth or not. And so because of that, we need to verify. via a photo ID, any government issue ID. I usually take and accept that. So I will then ask for a photo ID. We'll need a photo ID upon showing up at your residence. You can ask for it in a text message, but I find that sometimes people don't like that. They kind of get a little squirrely when you ask them to take a photo of their ID and send it. And I get it, with all the cloud-based software and all the cloud stuff. You might take a photo and it might end up somewhere where you don't want it. And if somebody hacks one of your accounts, your cell phone account or your Facebook account or something, and you message that to somebody, there's a possibility that that could get out. And you wouldn't want that to happen. So I will ask for it. It's okay for me to get it on the job site as well. If that's the case, then we'll take a picture of the photo ID there and we'll add that to the invoice. So it just stays with the invoice and that's it. It doesn't get uploaded to any other content or any other information. I will then ask for further verification, because just because we asked that Bob is Bob and Bob's driver's license says that Bob is Bob and Bob is supposed to be here, that doesn't mean that he actually has rights at that address. Well, how can we verify that? A couple different ways. My favorite way is mail, or the license on the address. We can continue to use that driver's license and say, okay, your home address, the address where I'm doing the work at, is the address that is on the photo ID. And these things all match up. That's it. That's done. I don't need any more information after that. If it doesn't match, and let's say there's situations where there's Airbnbs, people are renters, tenants, somebody's staying with family. Let's say that that the driver's license doesn't match, the address on the driver's license doesn't match the home because they have multiple homes. Okay, how about a piece of mail? Let me have a bill, anything around the house that has your name with that address on there, I'm going to say is pretty acceptable to me. After we do that, so now we've got photo ID, we've got mail verification. You could go as deep as to asking for the lease agreement. You can have them email that or screenshot a piece of it and have them send it to you. Or you could have them verify some other way. The brokerage, that they own the home, etc. You could do, have them contact the title company, any sort of verification, if you will. So if we were to take this situation and move it over to vehicles, let's say we're starting off with a home, but let's say it applies with a vehicle too. Again, I'll ask for that driver's license and photo ID, and then we'll take a look at the insurance or registration. Now, I'm not the police. I don't care if it's valid. Okay. It's not my job to ensure that you are insured as you're driving, or that you have proper registration and that your registration is current. I don't really care about all that. You might want to make sure that the registration is current and valid so that you can continue to use that as valid proof, because expired registration would mean that maybe somebody else bought the vehicle between that time and now. And that's just the way that one worked out. If that's the case, then make sure that it's all current, ready to go, and that the line items match up, the name, address, everything. You're just looking for red flags. As long as everything starts lining up, then we can go ahead and actually perform the work that we were requested to do. I tell you all of these stories, and the reason that this very first episode is not going to show you how to do anything yet is because the due diligence involved can really save your bacon. And I'll give you an example of how that can happen. I actually had a younger gal that requested lockhouse service. And she said, hey, I'm locked out of my house. Seemed like a normal routine call. I'm locked out of my house. Can you open the door and can you make me a key? I lost my key. And I said, yes, we can do that. So I did the same thing, got a text message stream going. I have a phone number. I have a time and date stamp. I have an address. I have everything that I need. And I get to the location, and sure enough, I ask for a photo ID, and she hands me a photo ID, and her photo ID has the address that I am at currently. So everything checks out. I even asked for a piece of mail, and there was a piece of mail with her name on it. on that address. Okay. Now, why does all that matter? Everything checked out. Even when everything checks out, you can still have a problem. Now, I don't know all of the details as to exactly how everything worked out, but after doing this call, after opening up the home and creating a key for that particular lock, after my due diligence was done, double, triple time, I get a phone call about a month later from a very angry father. And this guy calls me up extremely irate about, why did you let her into this home? And da 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 da, because I gave an invoice. I had the whole 9 yards ready to go. Okay. And I had this well documented as well. But what happened is the parents were out of town, or actually out of the country, on vacation. And the daughter had recently been ejected out of the house. They told her, you are not allowed to come back here. And they basically kicked her out. Well, the driver's license and the mail were still showing her name and her address as a valid point of residence, which anybody would find, right? So bottom line is, husband calls, he's very upset. I find myself in the position where it sounds like I might need to talk to my attorney because this person is so upset they're thinking about suing me or something. And that's exactly what he said. I'm going to sue you guys. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And that's not cool. So I like to protect myself, and I like to make sure that we're doing the correct things for the correct people. So I instantly went back. I found the text messages, time and date stamp, screenshotted everything, documented everything, picture of the photo ID, picture of the invoice, picture of every single step along that way. And because I actually took the time to do those things, I was in no hot water whatsoever. I talked to my attorney. I was like, look, I'm going to generate a statement. This is the statement of exactly the chain of events, how they happened. And I'm going to turn that over to the local law enforcement for that particular city, so that if they go to the police, which they're obviously going to do if they're that upset, they can go and they can get all of this information, and it was volunteered to them. Now, again, I always recommend that you talk to your attorney first, because you want to take legal advice from them. And I am not giving any legal advice whatsoever. I am not an attorney. Okay. I am a locksmith, not an attorney. But I can tell you that the things that I did really saved my bacon, because this guy wanted to hang me by my toes. He was very, very upset about the whole thing. I guess she ended up doing like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage to the house, threw a big party, took cars, went joyriding, did all kinds of crazy stuff that we would never, ever, ever want to have happen. Total worst case scenario. So the way that it unfolded is, I turned all this information into local law enforcement. I called them up. I gave them a statement. I said, here's everything on my end. I gave all that information to the person as well, to the guy. And I'm like, if you want to try and pursue this any further, we'll meet you in court. That's fine. We can do that. But here's literally how everything broke down. Perhaps you can understand where we got a miscommunication and where there was a little bit of a problem there. And I told him, I was like, we checked the photo ID. Absolutely. 1000%. No questions asked. Here it is in proof. And when you prove it like that, there's not really anything they can do. And I can say, look, I've got a photo. Here's the photo of her ID. Here's a photo of your daughter. Here's the time and date stamp. Here's the text message of her asking me, requesting service to come out. Okay. He is still upset, but accepts what exactly transpired, and then proceeds to tell me how I need to go online and look up the ownership registration of every single home before we go rekey or open any home in the future. And I'm like, well, I understand you're upset and you're just saying that, but that would be pretty impossible to do. That would add a ludicrous amount of work for myself. And just being a locksmith in general. So that's probably not going to happen. Not to mention, obviously, your daughter, who is 18 or 19, would not be on that list. And if you were out of the country and you didn't have a poor relationship with her and you did want her to come back into the house, you would want her to be able to call somebody like me if she did lose her keys, and you would want to make sure that she got back in the home safely. There are always two sides to the story. No matter how thin you slice it, there are always two sides to that story. And I simply explained. Here's the unusual option, the one that we have currently, where your daughter decided to take advantage of you. And that's really what happened. Whether I opened the door or not, she was going to break a window. She was going to call somebody else. She was going to do whatever it took to get into that home. She just so happened to call me first, and that was her first option or first resort to try and get entry into this home. Now that she's done that, she could have used any other option. If she didn't use me, she would have called somebody else. Then you would have been mad at them. If nobody would have opened it, she would have found a rock. She would have broke a window. She would have got in some way, shape, or form. No questions asked. So let's put that into context as well. And then let's look at the other side of it. What if you had a good relationship with your daughter and you guys were out of the country and you did want her to get back in, right? That is the exact reason, like, you would want that to happen. That's what I had expected to happen. It was just not the case for this particular one. So before we ever do any work, please do your due diligence and make sure that you're doing the correct work for the correct person, because you can be the most skilled person on the planet, but if you're doing work illegally, or you're doing work for the wrong person, or you're helping somebody commit a crime, that is totally against the code of ethics for the locksmith and the locksmith trade and the locksmith industry. And that is the point of this Locksmith Live video series, is to show people how to do things correctly and lose those scammer tactics, those bait and switch trunk slammer tactics that are rampant in our industry. This is the action that the industry has requested for a long time, to bring it to the forefront, to bring it to the lines, and bring it to everybody's attention that we need to be more professional about our trade. Changing the pins in a lock is not that hard. Most people can gain that concept or understand that concept. Okay, this is not rocket science. Anybody that can go online and order a pin kit and a follower and a couple basic hand tools, and that knows how to use a computer, can go from not a locksmith today to excellent locksmith, in quotation marks, tomorrow, quite literally. And this video series is designed to help guide people along the way, to make sure we're doing the correct work for the correct people at the correct times. So this is the very, very first video in the series. This is going to be a little bit shorter one. We're only about 23 minutes right now, just simply because I wanted to get this portion out there. And then next week, we will actually start getting into rekeying a lock, all the problems that can come up with that, how to completely service a cylinder. Day one, how to take a cylinder apart, put it back together successfully and rekey it, and pull it apart and explode it intentionally so that you can see how to put it back together. Because if you are trying to become a locksmith, or you're trying to learn, or you're apprenticing, it's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when you explode a cylinder, and you'll need to know how to rebuild it, repin it. You'll have to understand how all of the individual pieces work, and you'll have to understand how the pinning systems work. 03 pin kit, 05 pin kit, thousandths, root dimensions, root depths, BCC, max violations, maximum adjacent cut violations, just all the different technical information that you're going to need, we will be covering in next week's episode. We have one question here. Dylan on Facebook says, what if the person is renting, or they don't have their current address on the ID? So that's an excellent question. I'm glad that you answered, or that you asked that, Dylan. I will then ask, so there's Airbnb situations. So if we have an Airbnb situation or a tenant situation, I will ask for the lease. They obviously had to sign a lease. If they pull the lease up, send it to me right away. We're good to go. We're back in business. If there's any question, I will call the owner. Okay, I'll call the owner. If a friend is staying at a friend's house, or it's family, a lot of other situations that you'll get is like the cat sitter or the dog sitter. I'll make a phone call. I'll say, okay, well, you're the neighbor, and I'll verify them with a photo ID and their mail at their address, just to tell if they're lying or not for their location. Once I verify that they're legitimate, I'll say, send me the information for the owner, and I need to make contact with them to make sure that this is okay. Once we get contact with the owner, then we say, yes, this is all good. Or a lot of times the dog sitter will have a note that says, hey, so-and-so is going to be watching my house. Here's a list of the pets. Here's a list of their feeding schedules. If we have that piece of information, then I'll go ahead and open it. Okay. Also call cops to make a report. Yes, we could do that. So to answer Dylan's question, if we can't verify through ownership, through the ID and matching on a title or matching on ownership, then we would verify with the renter, we'd verify with the owner, and contacting the owner of the car or home is the best option in my personal opinion. If that's not possible, you'll have to put those pieces together yourself. Also call cops to make a report. You could do that. You don't know if a crime's being committed yet or not in some cases, though. And we are not the police. Oftentimes, locksmiths tend to pendulum swing from one end to the other. We go from some locksmiths don't ask for any ID. They don't ask who they're working for. They don't ask a lot of questions, right? And the other ones, they think they are the police and they need to interrogate this person and throw them in jail for not having current insurance on their car, right? Big spectrum there. With all of that said, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with it, and you're the one that has to have it rest on your shoulders. So do whatever it takes for you to sleep good at night, knowing that if there is a problem, you covered your assets enough, CYA, cover your assets, to not be held legally liable for performing locksmith or security services to the wrong person. That's all I'm asking. It'll make you sleep better. It'll make everybody sleep better. And it'll make the whole industry just that much more professional. We also ask customer for personal belongings at the residence. Yes, that's another thing that you can do too. Hey, what's in the home? Tell me, like when we walk in the home, can you tell me where the keys are? Okay. And then I'll make a mental note of that. My keys, I left them on the kitchen counter. Perfect. We walk in. She looks like she knows what she's doing. You look around, you see photos of family. The person who you worked with and called you is in the photos most of the time, right? They walk to the counter, they pick up their keys. Cool. I feel really good about that one. If you start to get sketchy feelings after the fact, there's no shame in saying, hey, I don't feel good about the situation. I'm going to call law enforcement and I'm going to have an officer come down here and they're going to check out the situation and make sure you belong here. There's nothing wrong with doing that, even if you've already opened the door. I would rather you say something than not say anything at all. That would be my preference. And you might get some sketchy stuff after you go inside. There's no pictures of them. They can't produce any mail. They don't know where the keys are. They don't know where anything is, and they just don't feel like they belong there. That is an indication that call up local law enforcement, send an officer down. Something's not right here. Explain the situation to them. Keep your documentation and let them take it over from there. Say, hey, the door's open. Do whatever you guys are going to do here. Okay. Either lock it back up or let them in or whatever you want to do. But I am now getting out of the situation. I'll tell you one last final story where that actually came to fruition, where I did involve law enforcement and it worked out really, really well. We did the same thing for safe opening. Okay. If you're going to open people's safes, you probably better do even more due diligence than just the photo ID and mail. Right. So I had a couple call me and they said, hey, we got a safe. We want you to open it. Can you open it? I said, yep. I haven't made anything on the planet I couldn't open yet. We can get it done. They said, cool. I said, all right, send me your contact information and the address where you want me to meet you at or where the safe is. They said, oh no, the safe is in our car. Red flag number one, big red flag. Okay. We do not want to be, opening random safes in cars. And we don't even have a shop anyway. So it's not like they planned on bringing it down. So what I told them was, I said, so you have a safe, and I asked them what's in it, and they said $100,000 in cash. And I said, wow, okay, I'm going to repeat this back to you. You're driving around with a safe and $100,000 in cash right here, right now, and you're telling me that you want me to open this for you, and this all seems above board and legit. I was like, those are huge red flags for me. I do not like the way this smells at all, because you could have picked that safe up from anywhere, just got done robbing somebody, and want me to open it for you, right? So what we did was I asked them what was inside. They said they had passports, photo IDs, and $100,000 in cash. I said, okay, let me call you back. So I'm thinking. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. You don't have a place where we can open this at. You just got it in your car. I'm not doing this in a parking lot with $100,000 in cash anywhere, except for the local police station. So we went down to the sheriff's department, and I said, look, I'm going to have an officer stand by. They're going to video and document the entire process. They're going to talk to you personally. I'm going to give them your information personally. And that's the only way I'm going to do this, is with officer law enforcement standby. I said, okay. So that was kind of my it made the red flags go away when they said, okay, anybody that was causing a problem or doing something illegal with that scenario would not want to be around law enforcement whatsoever. They would have wanted away from that immediately. So we said, okay, I'll meet you down there. I met him down there. Officer stood by, gave him all the information. We told them the whole story. I said, do you feel comfortable with this? He says, yep, let's go ahead and do it. So open the container. Sure enough, their passports were inside, $100,000 in cash. Everything was 100% legitimate. 100% legitimate. Okay, everything was. The only thing was, they worked like service industry jobs. They had like waiting tables and stuff. So it was high cash, and they were saving up to buy their home, and they needed to go to the mortgage company and make their cash deposit. They had been saving cash for the last 10 years to buy their house. And finally, when it came time to bring the money in to make their deposit to buy their first home, their safe would not open. The electronics failed, and I had to open the container for them. Good news is that we opened the container. Nobody was at fault. There was no ill intent at play, and they made it to the mortgage company, and they ended up purchasing their first home. We were part of making that happen. Had we delayed or denied them by a couple hours, or denied them at all, they would have missed their opportunity. They would have missed their closing, and they probably wouldn't have ended up getting their home that day. So, good side, bad side. You can see the pendulum swing both ways. Okay, we do all the due diligence in the world, and things still go wrong, and wrong was still done by that person. That girl decided to commit a crime, and she decided to utilize our service to help facilitate that. Now, the other thing that'll help you with that is a good disclaimer as well, and we'll go over that in just a second. But the other side is something that sounds like a big sketchy red flag that you would normally not even consider doing, ended up being a perfectly legitimate situation. And had I not helped them, that family would not have been able to buy their first home. So got to keep everything in perspective. Okay. Doing those things the way that I did it, I was able to sleep like a baby on both occasions because I knew I did what was right. As far as a disclaimer, let me see if I have my invoice here. So these are my old paper invoices, and you should have some kind of an authorization for security or emergency services. Okay, right there. And I'll just try and read mine as best I can. I'm horrible at reading stuff, so it is what it is. But the basic lines are, I hereby certify that I have the authority to do the work or on the lock, key, door hardware, accessories, access to control devices, safes, vaults, money drop boxes, or security or work designated above. That basically means that you, the person, the customer, are certifying and signing your name that you have the authority to do this. So the people with the safe had the authority to do this. The young gal did not have the authority to do that. That is her fault because she didn't have the authority to do that. So that very first sentence protected me. I also sent a nice big clipping of the disclaimer to them when they were talking about this. Further, I agreed to absolve the locksmith who bears this authorization form on any and all claims arising from the performance of such work. My signature below, or payment in full. In this electronic world that we live in, sometimes you can't get a signature. Sometimes you can get electronic signature, but sometimes you can't capture that or a live signature either. So I added the words or payment in full constitutes a waiver of claims and an acknowledgement that all work has been performed in a satisfactory manner, that the locksmith has demonstrated that the lock and key or security system is in good working order, and that there has been no damage to the work area or surrounding areas. Payment in full of this invoice constitutes authorization for Tri-County Locksmith Service to perform any and all security or emergency services provided pursuant to this invoice. Okay? Get yourself an attorney and get yourself a good disclaimer. If you want to private message me or you want to email me, I can send mine to you and you're free to use it. I paid an attorney a bunch of money to come up with mine, so I can help you with that with yours. But these are the building blocks of becoming a good locksmith. Anybody can swap out pins in a cylinder. Having a code of ethics, a code of conduct, a set of standards, high standards, having your license, having your business license, paying your taxes, and covering your assets and understanding the laws in your area is going to be far more beneficial to you than any knowledge on physical security whatsoever at this stage in the game. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat box. I do have that going, and I do see both YouTube and Facebook questions going. We ask if the customer's belongings inside the residence. We address that. If the caller hesitates in answering basic questions, that is a red flag. I ask a lot of questions based on the responses to primary info requests. Yes, I agree with all of that, Les. So if there's any questions, I'll leave this open for just another minute. We've been on for about 30, 40 minutes now. And we'll go ahead, and this is the first episode, and this is what is important. After we get through this, then we can get back to rekeying cylinders. And I'll show you, I got all these really cool cutaways. I have so much cool stuff coming your way. It's stuff that has not been done before. Some of it has, but it's going to be done in a whole new light, in a whole new way. And I'm really looking forward to this new series. We will see you guys every Monday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Have a great day. Enjoy and take care. Check out wayneslockshop.com for more information. Thanks for watching.